I pretended to be my twin to get out of a date. Now my twin is dating the guy, and he doesn't know. Sometimes I wonder if the universe has a twisted sense of humor. What started as a harmless white lie has now spiraled into one of the most confusing situations of my life. I guess I should have known better than to use my identical twin as a way out of an awkward date, but at the time, it felt like a perfect plan. Let me take you back to how this all started. My twin and I have always been incredibly close, sharing clothes, secrets, and occasionally even our friends. Despite our strikingly similar appearances, our personalities couldn't be more different. I'm more of the introverted type. I enjoy quiet evenings, books, and the comfort of familiar routines. My twin, on the other hand, thrives on social interactions and is constantly surrounded by people. She's the adventurous one, while I'm more cautious and reserved. About a month ago, I found myself in an uncomfortable situation. I had agreed to go on a date with a guy I met through a mutual friend. At first, he seemed nice, polite, charming, and persistent enough to make me say yes. But as the date approached, I started feeling uneasy. Maybe it was just my social anxiety kicking in, but something didn't feel right. I couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that I wasn't ready to put myself out there. The night before the date, I confided in my twin. She listened patiently as I expressed my worries and hesitations. Without missing a beat, she suggested something that made me raise an eyebrow. "Why don't I go in your place?" she said, half-jokingly. I laughed it off at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. We'd done little switches before as a joke, pretending to be each other to fool friends or teachers. We always got away with it. Maybe, just this once, it could work again. My twin seemed up for it, and I was too relieved at the thought of avoiding the date to think it through. And so, the plan was set. My twin would go to the date, make an excuse to end it early, and I'd never have to see the guy again. Simple. Harmless. Or so I thought. The night of the date, I stayed home, binge-watching my favorite series, and feeling a mix of guilt and relief. My phone buzzed a few hours later. A text from my twin. "You're not going to believe this, but he's great. We're having a blast." I felt my stomach drop. That wasn't part of the plan. They were supposed to have an awkward dinner, exchange some small talk, and leave. But from the sound of it, they were hitting it off. The next morning, my twin came home, eyes bright and cheeks flushed. She couldn't stop talking about how amazing the guy was, how they clicked instantly, and how he seemed genuinely interested in everything she said. I felt uneasy but didn't want to burst her bubble. After all, it was just one date. It would probably fizzle out on its own, but it didn't. A few days later, my twin told me that the guy had texted me asking for a second date. She seemed almost embarrassed when she admitted that she really wanted to go. That's when I realized this wasn't just a one-time thing. She actually liked him. I didn't have the heart to say no. I just nodded and told her to go. Part of me wanted to come clean to him, but how could I? I couldn't exactly text him, "Hey, I wasn't the one on that date, it was my twin." That would make me look insane. As the weeks went by, my twin and the guy continued to see each other, always under the pretense of being me. At first, I tried to convince myself that it was fine. They were happy, and I didn't have to deal with the anxiety of dating someone new. But soon, it became apparent that they were getting serious. My twin would come home after their dates, talking about how sweet he was, how he remembered little details about my favorite movies and hobbies, most of which were actually hers. She was falling for him. Meanwhile, I had to keep up the act whenever he texted or called me. I'd carefully word my responses, making sure not to break the illusion. It was exhausting, and guilt gnawed at me constantly. One evening, my twin came home with a guilty look. She confessed that he had asked her to meet some of his friends. Apparently, he wanted to show off his new girlfriend. My twin was thrilled. She really liked him. I could see it in her eyes. but all I could think about was how deep this lie had gone. I couldn't stand the thought of him introducing me to his friends, building more layers of deception. I tried to reason with my twin, telling her that maybe it was time to come clean. But she looked at me, genuinely hurt. "I really like him," she whispered. "Can't you just let me have this?" And I did. Because despite the mess we'd created, I couldn't bear to take her happiness away. Things reached a boiling point when I unexpectedly ran into the guy while running errands. I panicked, unsure whether to act like myself or my twin. Before I could make a decision, he approached me, smiling like we were long-lost lovers. I awkwardly greeted him, trying to remember what my twin had told him about my interests. We made small talk, and I could see confusion flicker across his face when I didn't respond to a joke the way he expected. Just when I thought I'd blown it, my twin appeared from around the corner. She looked just as shocked as I felt. Quick thinking as always, she laughed it off, saying we were practicing a prank for a talent show. The guy seemed to buy it, but I could see suspicion in his eyes. My twin quickly dragged me away, whispering that we needed to be more careful. That encounter was a wake-up call. We couldn't keep this up without getting caught, but every time I tried to bring it up, my twin would change the subject or insist that it was working fine. She seemed desperate to keep the illusion intact. One night my twin came home looking devastated. She told me that the guy had confessed he was falling in love. With me. The guilt became unbearable. My twin knew it too. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and whispered, "I can't keep lying to him." We both knew it was time to end the charade. I agreed to meet him as myself and explain everything. But just as I was working up the courage, my twin admitted that she didn't want to lose him. She asked if there was a way to transition from me to her without him finding out. We brainstormed, but no plan seemed realistic. Deep down, we knew that honesty was the only option. We'd have to face the consequences, no matter how painful. A few days later, my twin called him over to our place. We sat him down and told him the truth, that the girl he thought he was dating wasn't me, but my twin. We explained how it started as a mix-up and then spiraled into something we couldn't control. To his credit, he took it surprisingly well. He was hurt and confused, of course, but he also admitted that he suspected something was off. He didn't immediately storm out, and that gave us a sliver of hope. He asked for some time to process everything. My twin was heartbroken, and I felt terrible for both of them. In the end, they didn't end up together. He couldn't get past the deception, and I don't blame him. My twin and I learned a harsh lesson about honesty and boundaries. We've both moved on since then, but occasionally my twin will bring it up, joking that maybe we're too good at pretending to be each other. I laugh, but deep down, I know it's a reminder to never let a harmless prank spiral out of control again. Sometimes the line between a funny little trick and a hurtful lie gets blurred. I didn't mean for things to get so complicated, but life doesn't always go according to plan. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. Always think twice before switching places with someone, because you might end up stuck in someone else's story. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I've got more wild tales coming your way, and trust me, they're just as chaotic as this one. Thanks for listening.